clap 3 times. You know it's for the pacing, like, so I can connect the video and the camera
I just
together.
want to make your life difficult.
All right, thanks. That's awesome. That's a good introduction, actually, to to who you are, in my opinion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm only like that with like 4 people.
I feel like you're like that with more people, but that's okay. So,
Okay.
I'm here with Feardragon, who is a WCS commentator for Austin. In this video, we're just going to talk a little bit about the events that we're at, currently in his hotel room. And day 1 has not yet started, but it is very close to starting. So we want to hear your thoughts about Group Stage 1, 2, 3, who you think's going to win in general, all that good stuff, because you love the NA scene.
Yes.
So I actually caught you in the lobby talking to Masa.
Yeah.
Who was one of your favorite players, and who recently performed very well in Challenger. So actually, just like tell me a little bit about your thoughts about that Challenger, because you cast that as well, and what does it mean for Masa and Austin?
So, Masa, I've said this so many times before, but it's so true every single time. Masa is the player that whenever he is feeling like absolute garbage, trash shit about himself, he has super low self-esteem about his StarCraft stuff, he'll just play better. And the thing is, I think he becomes more fearless. He's someone that puts a lot of pressure on himself. I actually was lucky enough, I did a documentary that I'm still working on and stuff, but I got to do the interview and stuff with Masa, and like I got to hear a lot of his thoughts about the reason why that kind of stuff happens, where he has really low self-confidence and he'll do well, but when he has high self-confidence, he'll do really poorly, it seems like. And it really does seem like a lot of there's a lot less pressure on himself when he's like, oh, well, I haven't really been playing StarCraft, I've been playing a lot of Hearthstone or Overwatch or something. I was like, I'll just kind of go in and, you know, I'll proxy every single game and we'll just meme around and see kind of what happens. So he's really interesting. And I think it's kind of weird because I feel like when you have that sort of attitude, it almost becomes like this situation where you only get to pull out that trick once in a while, because now off of Challenger, he got to the finals, he almost beat newb. He got really close to beating newb. And then he's going to have confidence again. He's going to have some confidence after almost beating newb. So like now he goes to the event. So I feel like this has happened a couple of times in Challenger where he's had like really good runs. And you're like, wow, Masa, holy shit. And he goes to the event and I'm like, so I actually think that anyone that says they can predict Masa's placement is full of absolute shit, because nobody can predict Masa.
I was going to kind of follow up and say that 2 years ago was one of like Masa's best runs in Austin.
Semifinals.
And then, well, unfortunately, last year it was like the reverse. You know, he didn't do well pretty much at all, not to be mean or anything. But so is it a wave, do you think? Or you actually cannot predict?
There's so many other factors. Like there is like the idea of how he did in the previous events and stuff, but there's also what's going on in school life and all that stuff. So I know it's funny whenever he's really busy with school a lot of the time, and then he just has a week or two to kind of get back into things. That's just the right amount of time to make things work. But yeah, sometimes it has to do with previous events. Sometimes it has to do with just what's going on with his life and stuff, which I think is actually true for a lot of NA players right now.
That's certainly true. So I just wanted to bring that up because I saw you guys talking.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to go like from broad to specific for the actual event. So in general, what are your opinions on DreamHack Austin? It's happened. This is the 3rd year it's happened. Now you're casting it. Yeah. So all that combined, your previous years, visiting, and then now you're casting. What are you expecting? What are you hoping for? Yeah,
I love DreamHack Austin. I love all the, like, DreamHack Austin, DreamHack Montreal are both, like, super special to me, because obviously I'm an NA fanboy, just, like, a little bit. Like, Scarlett was sitting on this couch yesterday, so I didn't touch the couch, because I was like, Scarlett was here.
I'm going to show her the specific part of the video, just to make sure, because otherwise I don't think she'll watch it.
But yeah, so, like, obviously it's a bit special to me, but at the same time, I think what's really cool to me, and it also kind of sucked, was the whole situation that happened in the waitlist. Because so many people showed up for WCS Austin this year that there was a waitlist for even really legit players like DNS and Sol and Stefano, and I can't even think of some of the other ones. I think a Laser was also on like the waitlist. They were not actually in the groups. They couldn't play because there were just too many people that signed up, and it was first come, first serve. So I'm not going to get into the whole first come, first serve thing. That's like a whole other topic that we could talk about for like 30 minutes. But I think it's just like a really cool sign that NA just shows up.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. It's one of my favorite things. Like, I think NA is super passionate. Like, you also have a lot of the super casual people who are also coming out and being like, yeah, let's make a deep run. Like, let's try it out.
Okay, yeah. You have a very different perspective on the NA scene in general than a lot of other content producers, a lot of other like pretty much everyone in the scene. I would say overall has a bit of a negative view of the NA scene, but you always have a positive one. So you're saying that you're really happy to see the passion come out for Austin. You know, it's so full that there's wait lists. But I mean, what does that compare to these online performances where they don't come out? And is it just this is such a special thing that so many people come out?
I think that's part of it. It's like a couple of things, right? Because one, it's a super massive event. It's the besides Montreal, which in some ways Montreal, it's in Canada. It's a little bit further off for a lot more people, whereas Texas is like kind of centralized in the United States. Canadians, they have to go a bit of a distance, but it's not too bad because most of the Canadians are on the south side of the country. Not continent. Country. So like Austin's a really nice location for people to travel to, and because it's a big event, everyone goes. But with a lot of the online events and stuff, it's really interesting because I think that it has a lot to do with just how busy and different everyone's schedules are for school and everything else. So you'll have these. It's so funny. Like I think that there are sometimes a lot of events where a ton of NA players will show up. You'll just have like this massive bracket, and it'll be some random $100 weekly cup, and then maybe a month or two later, you'll have 3 people sign up for a pretty legit qualifier. Like 4 people sign up for a BTSL qualifier that gives $500 and flies you off live. You're like, what's happening here? I think it has so much to do with just people's schedules, when finals are, when people are like, what time of day it is, how good the like public information is, because people in NA are also not great at reading up on information. Sure. So like when it comes to big events and like things that are well publicized and at the right time, I think NA will show up. But you're absolutely right. I think that NA has problems in like a lot of the smaller events.
Well, do you think it's getting better? Like, I mean, last year's Austin, I don't think had a wait list, right?
No, I don't think. Well, so from what I heard, almost every year, like I don't know about the EU events, but I think the NA events almost always have a wait list. But usually enough people don't show up that everyone gets through on the wait list and like everything's hunky-dory and fine. So I think maybe it's getting better. It's kind of weird. It's kind of hard to say. Like I have a bit of a biased opinion because my method of getting players to sign up for my tournaments is like I just straight up message around 70, 80 people on my Skype or Discord or whatever. I'm like, hey, you should play in this thing, and then I have a normal conversation with all of them. So it's not a realistic way for everyone to do it.
No, not exactly. Okay, so bringing in more to the tournament here. So it's WCS Austin. We're now on the second WCS of the year. Of course, Leipzig was 4 months ago at this point. Like, do you think that it's beneficial to be such a large gap of time and then like push it in, or do you really wish that it was like basically every 3 months or every 2 months? That's a good question. I haven't really thought too much about that. I think I'd kind of prefer the more spaced out stuff just because it gives more people opportunities to, I guess, work with a different setting, because there's such a different map pool. You have a good gap of time, so like sometimes a lot of the balance changes or even the meta changes go through, so people have these different opportunities and you're less likely to see one person just completely dominate the circuit, but unless you're someone that's so good like newb that you dominate the circuit over the course of, what was it, like, I want to say it was like a 7-month or 8-month thing where besides Valencia. Well, last year started with Austin. So.
Yeah. And Austin was last year was in April or March.
It was in May. I think it was late April, early May or something.
Oh, right. It was in May because Cinco de Mayo was...
It's always close to my birthday.
Yes.
That's why I know.
All right. Okay.
But anyways.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. So, I mean, you kind of prefer these big gaps of time so we can see people develop, and then I guess there's also the nice thing where there is that school factor. So we do go into summer and suddenly we have not quite 3 events during the summer, but it's like it's actually kind of close, being from June to September for all the events. But anyways, so what is your opinion on like the current bracket that we finally got to see? We had the WCS points once again maybe be an issue, whereas in the past, we kind of got a lot of consistent storylines, which I know you like. I talked a little bit about Wardy with this, but in this circumstance, we had like a group of death already, which was Mana, Namshar, and Optimus. Because the WCS points are just a little wonky, But I don't really want to go to the WCS system so much yet, but I just want to ask, like, what are your opinions on Group Stage 1? Do you think there's going to be a lot of upsets that people aren't expecting because so many NA players are now here?
I think that there's gonna be some I'm an NA fanboy, but I'm still gonna be realistic about it. Like it's not like a majority. It's not like a majority of the Europeans that are good enough to justify traveling across the entire world are just gonna be like immediately knocked out at all the NA players. And we're gonna have like 12 NA out of like 16 in the playoffs. I'm not thinking like that, but I do think that there's always some upsets. Like some of the Europeans always kind of get upset by some like NA player that they sleep on, or like Cham I think has been a player that a lot of, or like True is actually a really good example of someone that a lot of Europeans sleep on. Europeans for some reason they're just like, yeah, True's just not good. He's just not good. And then you'll have True make a semifinals run and he'll like knock out Cyril or something of Valencia. It was like I think that True, like there's always those kind of stories.
Yeah, that's true.
In terms of the format and stuff, I do have strong thoughts on this. I'm not even going to get into the WCS points. Not just for when it comes to like fairness and stuff for players, but also for just entertainment value. I actually kind of wish that there was not just 3 group stages every single event.
Okay.
I would love to see a mix up in format. Either you have something that's like a little bit crazy and a little bit brutal, like a double elim like bracket that is just like top 16 or something. So something a little intense like that, or even just do something like what was it? Swiss format where you have people matching up, and then that's actually a lot more fun for other people who are not pros entering in because they get to play more matches as well. It's not just like got in a group with Nurchio and Optimus or something. Good luck to me. Like I'm gonna have really fun in these 2 matches that last 8 minutes or 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of been circulating around Twitter and whatnot. Yeah. Just like maybe there could be a different format in the future, but we all know the constraints and just it is a bit easier to do the same thing over and over again. You already got it set up, so it's kind of hard to make that work. But still sticking specifically on Austin here, who are your favorite players? We had, they said Leipzig already, and we know that Showtime and Cyril are both in really, really good form, and Cyril is still, I think, a lot of people's bet to win multiple WCSs this year since he's still so consistent. Even his IEM run was very, very good. But besides those 2 obvious ones, I suppose, like who you think are people sleeping on this time? Who do you think is the best up and coming NA player that no one really knows about?
Yeah, I mean, you already mentioned like obviously Cyril and Showtime. I also want to say Euthermal. I think like people gave him shit after the Challenger tweets and stuff, but like if you actually look at the facts and you look at their history and stuff, Cyril and Euthermal have had a really, really close rivalry, and before that Challenger series where Euthermal did get completely bopped. Let's be realistic about it. He did get completely bopped there, but he had won the previous 2 series that they played, and I think one of them was a best of 5 or something as well. So like Euthermal's by no means just completely outclassed by Cyril. I think he absolutely can make a good run. I think True, I already mentioned, I think that he's such a weird memer and he plays such a weird style, but actually a lot of the meta, I think, because mutas and like muta play in I feel like multiple matchups has been making a comeback, and True with mutas or just hyper mobile units I think that's like the scariest type of True, and he's also been practicing a lot lately. So he's looking really good. Well,
what about some of the I guess the people who haven't really even gotten WCS points, like some of the guys from NA Challenger.
Future is, I think, the person that everyone has their eye on because he's a good player, and the reason why he hasn't made a deep run is because he wasn't 16 until this event. So, like, he's someone. Clem is another one.
I was going to say. Yeah. Clem also turned 16 very recently. Rainer will be turning 16 very soon, so you're talking about him in Valencia, I believe. So that'll be fun. But, so do you think he has a realistic shot to, like... I don't know, like how far do you think Future will realistically go, considering that his nerves don't get in the way?
Yeah, that's the thing about Future that I think is going to be the biggest struggle, and I feel as though his run, I mean, this isn't that weird of a thing to say, but his run is going to be a lot more determined by him versus himself, I think, rather than him versus whatever group he gets. Like a lot of the time you talk about like bracket luck and stuff. I think for Future it's going to straight up be like him versus himself because he tilts really easily. He has an amazing mentality for improvement, and he has a shit mentality for tournament play, which is really cool and also really sucks. So he struggles a lot with that, and I think he's also struggling a little bit with nerves. Like he's gone to some of the Cheesadelphia events and stuff, but like he hasn't really gotten a chance to play in a really, really big premier event like this skill level. So I think there's a really good chance that I think he's going to do really well and upset. Like, he's one of the players that I would expect is actually going to face off versus a European who's going to be like, yeah, this guy's kind of like cheesy, whatever. And he's going to like beat him or knock him out of the tournament or something. But then he's going to just bomb out in like the next round. So I'm hoping that isn't the case. I actually think he has it in him to make a group stage 3 run. And if he's just like gone through some mental fortitude training, I don't know, hyperbolic like mental time chamber, he could actually make playoffs, because I think he's actually that good when he's playing well. But it's about, can he play well for that long?
Yeah, that is the real question.
Yeah.
We also have a lot of the Australian guys that have made it over, which is really nice to see. I know Seether, however he pronounces it, finally made it over to an event. Often he just decides not to go. And then a couple of other guys, we had some pretty cool moments.
Probe, NXZ.
Yeah, exactly. We had a couple of cool moments in their qualifier to get here. So are you excited to see what they can do? Do you think that this is their shot? They all came as a team, or I guess like a bunch of Australians. They're on some different teams, but they're all very friendly. Like, it seems to be a good environment, a good time for the Australians to finally prove they can make it through. Do you expect any of them to make it to the playoffs?
I definitely think at least one of them can make it to the playoffs. Just a lot of people sleep on the C scene. Like, it's not always amazing, but I think that they still also have some really good moments. Like, we've seen players like Probe actually make a really deep runs, which, funny enough, Probe didn't qualify for Blizzard gets mad whenever I treat Challenger like a qualifier. He didn't manage to get top 2 of the Australian Challenger, so he didn't make it to the event. But he's still like a really solid player. He could still make a good run. NXZ is just playing on fire right now. He's the one that beat Probe and knocked him from the winner's bracket to the loser's bracket. He beat Demi Love. He's just a really awesome and fun guy. He's like a super emotional guy. So like, he's fun to cheer for and watch and stuff.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to seeing him. And also Seether, I think, is just a player that gets slept on a lot, but also it's an offline event, so I don't know how he's going to do.
Yeah, that's a big question mark for sure. Yeah. So I guess 2 more questions to wrap up this segment. But first of all, you did do Challenger, which was really nice. But how did that tell you a lot of information about who is being slept on, who might be coming up in the scene? I think European Challenger you kind of expect what it's going to come out to be. It's really a test of the top European players battling it out. But NA is very different, where you have an expected 5 top, maybe. Yeah. But the rest of them are just like, wow, who's actually going to take it? Did that sell anything to you?
The biggest things that I walked away from Challenger, especially for Europe, was Hero Marine is looking freaking good. Like, I didn't mention it before, but Hero Marine legit. I think he is actually at a level right now, which is so funny because he did an interview with Wax Angel on Team Liquid, and he was like, I don't really enjoy competition that much. I think I'm just really enjoying streaming and stuff. I'm like, okay, dude. I think that you have the potential to win this entire event right now, but, if you're enjoying streaming, that's cool, too. So I think Hero Marine showed that he was in really freaking good form. Showtime showed that he can bring it, but he also sometimes doesn't. So, like, there was that, like, with the Hellraiser stuff, and, like, he had, like, a little bit of a slow start, I think, in the groups. But it's always so hard to tell with everything because it's like a totally different map pool. It's now like a month ago or a month and a half ago that stuff happened. For NA, I think the Masa stuff was interesting because as much as I really love to hype up Masa, he did also win most of his games by just proxying. And he did it to the point where you knew he was going to proxy, but he would still win. So, like, so there's still something there, but it does also make it difficult to win a tournament or make a deep run in a big tournament like this, because you're not just playing 1 or 2 matches a day. You're playing 3 groups, or a group stage, and then you're playing a round of 16 bracket, and then you're playing 3-4 more rounds versus some of the best players in the entire foreign scene. So it's hard. Yeah.
So the last question is going to be, instead of I already asked you like who you're kind of expecting to get far, but my question for you is actually, who are you most excited to cast at this event?
Ooh, okay. Oh, man, I have to pick one person? That's hard.
You can pick, like, multiple, but don't go, like, basically every NA player, okay?
Okay. Fine, you know me. So, let's see. Raze, because I think he's just really interesting. I still don't know how he's going to look, because he swapped over from Terran to Protoss. Yeah. But he also hasn't been playing much lately, but he's also more of an intellectual player than a hardened, practiced mechanical player. He's never been a super mechanical player, so I'm kind of looking forward to seeing Raze. I would say, like, the youngsters, like Future and Clem, are super fun and interesting to watch. Scarlet is always, like, I will never get tired of watching Scarlet play. Even when she doesn't do well, I'm like, I was glad I was there for it at least. And I think newb has actually been, he's been fun to watch lately. He's been, I think, just like fun to watch. It's like the Protoss in me. I watch it, I'm like, that's smooth. That's so good. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk about Austin. I'm actually going to do another interview just right after this, basically, but upload it another time, just talking about more about his general life as a caster. So make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for that. Thanks, guys.